There is a rise of the far right at the moment. It is happening all over the world. Now, this movie clip I am about to show you is from a movie made in 1947. The strange thing is, it is relevant to our times. Please watch this 7 minutes film. I will put comments as text as you watch, and you will see just how it resembles our time, even though it was 78 years ago. Now I have made slight edits in this film for time reasons, and also to help lead us into part 2. Please watch.
But there are guys who stay up nights figuring out how to take that away from him.
I want to give you the truth, folks. The truth about America. I know you've got a lot of questions. You want to know why you're not getting the breaks you deserve. Well, I'm not a politician, but I've made it my business to study these things, and I happen to know the facts. Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American, and some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign accents making all the money. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fellow seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes, he knows all right.
What's the answer? What are we real Americans going to do about it? You'll find it right here in this little pamphlet. The truth about Negroes and foreigners. Now, friends, these books are free. Paid for by real Americans who want others to know the truth.
Excuse me, young man, but are you actually going to read that stuff?
Sure, why not? You heard what he said, didn't you?
Yes, I heard. But do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know. Makes pretty good sense to me.
I'm speaking to you as an American. And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners.
Hey, that fellow's talking about me.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them.
You were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about... What about those other people?
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people, all of us.
What about you? You aren't American, are you?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you. This is not classroom theory. I saw it happen. I saw it first in Berlin in 1932. 5 young men that I knew were standing in the crowd listening to the Nazi speaker. Eric was a Catholic. Anton, a student of mine, was a Jew. Heinrich owned a small hardware store. Karl was a farmer. And Hans was an unemployed metal worker.
To all true Aryan Germans, I say it is time you inherited the nation which rightfully belongs to you. To you alone belongs the glorious destiny of the greater Germany. The Nazi Party will provide land for the farmer, work for the worker, and profits for the small businessman. Who is getting these things now? The Jew. The Jew who has stolen our nation and our birthright. Who makes all the money and takes all our jobs? The Jew! He must be shunned. He must be ostracized. He must be eliminated. And the Catholics. We don't want our great nation run by a foreign church. We Germans will know what to do with these people when the time comes. They and their faith must be destroyed.
One by one, he attacked each minority and he split them off one from the other. These men were all fellow Germans when they came here today. Now they were split into rival groups, suspicious of each other, hating each other. They were being swindled, all of them. But the man who was really being fooled was Hans. He was pure German, according to Nazi standards. To him they promised everything, and he fell for it.
You who are true Aryan Germans will share the glorious destiny of our fatherland. You are the pure-blooded, the master race. It is your divine right to rule, and the Nazi party stands ready to put you into power. It is for you to command all Germany, and someday the entire world.
That's how Hans became a Superman. They gave him a uniform and they pumped up his ego. He wasn't just a little fellow out of work anymore. He was a member of the master race. His wife couldn't quite understand. Even though he was a Superman, there wasn't any food in the house. Stupid woman. Didn't she realize that the Nazis were going to make jobs for everybody? There would be plenty of food and clothing and a new house. Everything they wanted. The glorious future of Germany was to be theirs, and their children would someday rule the world. But his wife, silly woman, still wondered where the next meal was coming from. Hans didn't like that kind of talk. It was dangerous. For that kind of talk, people should be put in jail. Hans had swallowed the bait all right. And these were the men who baited the hook. Why? So that Hans could come to power? Of course not. So they could come to power. They would merely use Hans to help them get there. He would do the dirty work for them. Hans and thousands of others like him, all playing a sucker's game. They gambled with other people's liberty, and of course they lost their own. A nation of suckers. Hitler needed these people. There was lots of work to be done. They now ruled all of Germany. But still they had trouble with their oldest and most persistent enemy, the truth. They found that truth does not die easily. And so they decided to abolish truth. One great source of truth is literature. So they burned books. 20 million of them. We must never let ourselves be divided by race or color or religion, because in this country we all belong to minority groups. I was born in Hungary, and then you belong to other minority groups too. Your right to belong to these minorities is a precious thing. You have a right to be what you are and say what you think, because here we have personal freedom. We have liberty. And these are not just fancy words. This is a practical and priceless way of living. But we must work at it. We must guard everyone's liberty, or we can lose our own. If we allow any minority to lose its freedom by persecution or by prejudice, we are threatening our own freedom. And this is not simply an ideal. This is good, hard common sense. You see, here in America is not a question whether we tolerate minorities. America is minorities. And that means you and me. So let's not be suckers. We must not allow the freedom or dignity of any man to be threatened by any act or word. Let's be selfish about it. Let's forget about we and they. Let's think about us.
As you can see, this is linked to today's society. However, as you will see in the second episode, this video has a very sinister undertone. And although I agree with its message, it is merely a propaganda tool. Like I said before, I had to edit this video. I will go through the unedited version in part 2, and you will understand that we are living in a construct. So in the previous episode, we looked at the divide made by those in power and how they use these divides to manipulate the masses. I used this video, which was made after the Second World War, as an example. But if you can recall, I stated the fact that the video was edited. Well, let's look now at the unedited version. I will show you now why this video is a propaganda tool.
But there are guys who stay up nights figuring out how to take that away from him.
I want to give you the truth, folks. The truth about America. I know you've got a lot of questions. You want to know why you're not getting the breaks you deserve. Well, I'm not a politician, but I've made it my business to study these things, and I happen to know the facts. Now, friends, I'm just an average American. But I'm an American, and some of the things I see in this country of ours make my blood boil. I see people with foreign accents making all the money. I see Negroes holding jobs that belong to me and you. Now I ask you, if we allow this thing to go on, what's going to become of us real Americans?
I've heard this kind of talk before, but I never expected to hear it in America.
This fellow seems to know what he's talking about.
Yes, he knows all right.
What's the answer? What are we real Americans going to do about it? You'll find it right here in this little pamphlet. The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church. Now, friends, these books are free. Paid for by real Americans who want others to know the truth.
Excuse me, young man, but are you actually going to read that stuff?
Sure, why not? You heard what he said, didn't you?
Yes, I heard. But do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know, makes pretty good sense to me.
I'm speaking to you as an American. And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these people.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fella's talking about me.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
That's right, people. This is nothing but a Freemason propaganda video made after the Second World War in order to try and unify the people once the war was over. Now, I know what you are thinking. The version I showed you was a positive warning on how certain powers are set to divide us and that we shouldn't let them. Well, this message stands true. But you see, the Masons themselves are the one who caused this divide. I will explain. Let's continue for now.
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us. Thank you.
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about... What about those other people?
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people, all of us.
What about you? You're an American, are you?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin.
What were you doing there?
I was a professor at the university. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you.
You know, it's funny. Funny how this movie was made after the Second World War and not before. You have to ask yourself why. Why allow millions to perish, then make statements on unity after the event? Would it not be best to make these statements before the event to try and prevent it from happening? No, of course not, because the same propaganda machine that made this video is the same machine that called for war before it had even started. The bankers, the elites, the Masons wanted a reset. They wanted a new world order. And once they got it, they then needed everyone to now rebuild the new world, rebuild the new system they had in place.
The Allies had barely landed at Normandy when the idea of a monetary fund began to move rapidly from concept to reality. The idea was that by working together to increase world economic welfare, nations would also increase the chance of political peace. With war still raging, the foundation was laid for the International Monetary Fund. In the summer of 1944, in the remote mountains of New Hampshire, the staff of the reopened Mount Washington Hotel was preparing for the gathering officially known as the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference. One of the intellectual godfathers of the IMF was Harry Dexter White, who was already anticipating the Allies' victory.
That's right, people. The war hadn't even ended, but they already had anticipated a victory. Well, of course they did, since it was orchestrated that way. This is what is called the Bretton Woods system. This is where the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank were created. Now, we all know which family runs the banking system, so we won't go into that. But this now meant that the elites took over the banking system on an international scale. After this war, the Brotherhood now ran the world, and all nations would be under their control, since all nations would at some point be in debt to the newly formed World Bank. The World Bank itself opened its doors 1 year after the war had ended.
June 25th, 1946. It hadn't even been a year since the end of the Second World War. Multilateralism and peace were fragile. On this day, the World Bank opens its doors for the first day of business. On June 25th, 1946, World Bank staffers took the first steps to put the vision from Bretton Woods into action. And we continue that work today.
Ordo ab chao, order out of chaos. This is a well-known phrase that the Brotherhood like to use. They are looking for another reset. They are looking for a new world order. And they are using their old tricks all over again to put the world under the right conditions in order to usher in their new plans. This is the divided world we live in today, divided by the elite-owned media.
March down Broadway.
There were fears today's march would be hijacked by neo-Nazi hate groups.
And there they were, front and centre, leading the march and blindsiding organisers. The men in black, members of the White Australia group. The leader is Jack Eltis.
Well, we're here because anti-immigration is our key political issue.
Are you racist?
Yeah, we're racist. Yeah, we're racist.
And why is that a good thing?
We're proud of who we are. We're proud of who we are as white men. We built this nation.
At the end, an open mic session. And that's when the White Australia group seized control.
This land was built by white Australians.
Yeah! With every comment, there was more disquiet in the crowd.
These ethnics have formed enclaves, and now we can't even go there in our own lands.
It was a hate speech and wasn't winning over the majority.
Send them back. No debate, no discussion. We want to send them back to their lands.
When he finished, police ushered the group away. In Melbourne, there was violence. Thousands clashing in the CBD as the March for Australia protesters clashed with pro-Palestinian marchers. An Australian flag was burned, a woman body slammed as violence escalated. And leading the March for Australia rally and given a prime speaking spot, notorious neo-Nazi Thomas Sewell.
We don't have a nation at the moment, we've got a halfway house for the world.
Police caught in the middle.
The police are doing the most fantastic job, keeping us away. We're trying to do a march once. They're here every single weekend.
And in Adelaide, in a sea of flags, a disturbing nod to fugitive gunman Desi Freeman, on the run after allegedly killing 2 police officers on a property in Victoria.
In Seattle, flames near the federal building. Fireworks erupting into the crowd, police using mace pushing back against protesters. Here in Los Angeles, residents in their second night under curfew, protesters out after dark arrested. LAPD also seemingly detaining specific individuals from the crowd. Earlier in the day, mounted police appeared to almost trample people gathered outside City Hall as they tried to push them back. Demonstrations growing from coast to coast.
The protest was organised by Tommy Robinson, seen by his supporters as an anti-establishment free speech defender. Detractors describe him as a far-right agitator whose rhetoric often targets minority communities and stokes division.
They have attacked the family, they've attacked Christianity, they've opened the borders, they've flooded our nations. They managed to silence us for 20 years with labels. Racist, Islamophobe, far right. They don't work anymore.
Refugees are welcome here.
The protesters were met by a much smaller group of counter-demonstrators. Some 5,000 people gathered under the banner of the March Against Fascism.
This is going on all over the world at the moment, divisions of all kinds, and every country has its division leaders. But do not think for a moment I am implying that the problem is a right-wing issue. No way, the left are also causing a divide by reacting to it. Both sides are being played. The elites themselves need a reset, and once that reset is done, they will then promote unity. This is the new money system they want to introduce.
Future of money and payments. A central bank digital currency, or a CBDC, is simply a way for Americans to have a bank deposit account right at the central bank, the Federal Reserve of the United States. This is very controversial in the United States because Americans feel, or at least many Americans feel, that this would be an invasion of their privacy for the Fed to have their deposit account information. Nevertheless, it's going ahead in places like China and Europe. I do think it's going to be a while before the United States does this. In the meantime, it should simply be investigated by the US government. I'm sure everyone has heard about Bitcoin. Now we're going to see a new kind of cryptocurrency called stablecoins entering the everyday lives of Americans. These can be used to make payments much more efficiently